Good afternoon, everybody. I was told not to beatbox when I came out, but I can. It'll be too frightening. Well, I'm glad everybody's here and getting a seat. It's my pleasure today to introduce Nabil Ibrahim, the Chief Revenue Officer from Behavox. He was part of the founding team. Behavox started in 2015, has grown to a diverse customer base across 15 geographies. They started with compliance and expanded into productivity and front office use cases. And the industries they're operating in is financial services, commodities, telco, and maybe even a few more. So, Nabil, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get started. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Behavox and what you're doing for our customers?
Sure. So Behavox is a communications monitoring platform. So what we do is we aggregate the enterprise communications data for organizations. We bring it into Google Cloud. And then on top of that, we deploy our analytics platform. It's multi-product. So one of the key use cases is helping organizations with regulatory risk and conduct risk. Second use case is actually archiving. So organizations produce terabytes and petabytes of data that needs to be stored somewhere for a period of time. And then the third use case is actually employee productivity boosts. We focus on financial services, right? So it's not about trying to solve the problem for everyone under the sun. It's about trying to solve the problem for banks, hedge funds, commodity traders, and the likes.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the biggest challenge is dealing with so much data and moving that at scale. Tell us a little bit about the tech and how you solve some of that.
So the way we bring the data in is we're actually natively integrating with all the communication channels. So if you've got emails, it's EML. You have your Bloomberg chats, it's XML. Your other chats through APIs and so on and so forth. Then what we're doing is once it's in the platform, we're leveraging fine-tuned large language models or adaptively pre-trained large language models that are trained on financial services specific data. So it's not open source Wikipedia or the likes of it. It's data that is private data that's been provided by customers or regulators or enforcement cases. And then we use that to do analysis between what's in the communications data and what is the problem that people are trying to solve for. And then on a search basis, Jeremy, you'll be happy to hear, we're users of BigQuery, Google Search. And
yes.
So there we go.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I think you've recently added a marketplace listing and called regulatory archiving, and so that's complementing some of these existing solutions. So, tell us a little bit how that complements what you've already had.
So when we started the business many years ago, what we realized is that archives are just glorified storage drives that organizations use that they use for search and retrieval. Now that's problematic because every time you want to do a data science experiment or anytime you want to exfiltrate that data to use it somewhere else, it's cost prohibitive and it's typically locked down in an archive. So what we realized is, look, we've built an archive on top of Google with the help of Google. So why wouldn't we make that data available? So if people want to build things using Vertex, or if people want to query that data, make it readily available through an intelligent archive, the way you would in your laptop, as opposed to a dormant storage unit that you can only use when the regulator knocks on your door. So that's what we look to do. That's where we're trying to help organizations build a data domain that they can use to help with all their data science experiments that they're trying to run, and it's complementary to the suite of products that they're using across the organization.
It sounds like it really unlocks the value.
It absolutely unlocks the value, and if you're a seller or if you're someone who's considering archiving, it's about today the cost of running searches is very expensive because it's both expensive in terms of compute and expensive in terms of people resources because the data is stored in cold storage, so it takes a long time to retrieve. With Google, we've solved that problem, so you're bringing Google-like search and speed to solve an archiving problem. The second thing is once I retrieve all that data or run a query, I'm using keywords to run that query. Remove that and introduce semantic searches. So your searches are more context-based as opposed to specific keywords. And then third is you're leveraging the affordable cost of Google storage with affordable rates that you're passing on to customers. So now time to value is faster, search quality is higher, and cost of storage and cost of utilization of that data is significantly lower. And bear in mind, this is data that you need to keep for 7 to 10 years. So it is not an insignificant volume of data.
Yeah, 7 to 10 years. Let's see. I've got a 6-year-old. It's a long time. Wow.
It is a long time.
So obviously we haven't heard enough about AI, I think, at this conference yet. But why don't you demystify the AI components a little bit for us? I know, just in working with you for a while, that touch on a little bit about your journey getting there too, because this is not something that happens overnight. And I think a lot of the misconception is, gosh, I can just train a model, I can collect the data, I can do that in 6, 12, 18 months. Help us a little bit with that, as well as what are some of those components.
So a little bit of background here, and to make it a little bit interesting, when I joined Behavox, I'm a recovering lawyer, so they don't really allow me to touch code. So when I joined, I didn't know much about financial services, and one of the first things I'm working on is with an organization that does prop trading. And so I go to Google, as everyone does, and I'm like, okay, what on earth is this prop trading stuff? Now, when I have people joining my team who are recovering from whatever industry they've come from, they're going into open source chatbots, right? Be it Gemini, be it the others, and they're saying, all right, what is prop trading? Good luck. You're going to get all kinds of answers under the sun. And a perfect experiment, if you want to run it, is we did this recently, is go into any one of these chatbots and write in what is SLOREP, SLOREP, or what is VCON, VCON. SLOREP is, I assure you, not some kind of soup. It's actually Slovak European Republic bond. So what we learned is, if you're going to roll out an open source large language model to financial services, you run a couple of risks. One is that data is now being exfiltrated and potentially being given to the large language model. So data integrity and data security is compromised. The second is the relevance of the query you're trying to run, because you're not trying to plan a holiday or write a birthday message for your mom, or which some of us are guilty of doing. What you're actually trying to do is solve a complex financial services question. So over the past 8 years, our customers have provided us with financial services specific data, be it chats, be it emails, be it phone calls, and we've used that to train the large language model, so adaptively pre-train it. What we've also done is we've actually said, well, look, when you think about it, you think about some of the large language models that exist. They're like, look, we took all of Wikipedia, we took all of what's available in Google Books, we took everything else, but how is that relevant when you're trying to find out what Jamie Dimon's view is on AI? What you actually want is all of the 10Ks, the 10Qs, you want all of Investopedia, you want everything that standard agents cannot parse. So you need to build dedicated agents to go and scour the internet and private data that your customers have given you access to be able to train these models. So when people ask what's the differentiator, why didn't we just repackage a publicly available large language model, it's because of the relevance of what people are trying to search for. And it is very expensive, and it is very hard work. Jeremy, plug for you, GPUs are not cheap or readily available, so help us.
Stock out, stock out, stock out. Well, yeah, thanks. Obviously, GPUs are a big component of the infrastructure. There's a lot of choice out there, right? GCP has notorious for many products, perhaps to solve the same challenge. What were a handful of the products on the AI stack that you guys liked?
Again, reason why they don't let me touch code is because they don't give me the answers to that question. But what I will say is, basically in 2022, we made a decision as an organization, actually earlier, so in 2020, and it's an organization known to Google, so a large Canadian bank, red logo, so if anyone's thinking about it. So they basically said, look, we cannot use the other cloud provider because they're not compliant with a local Canadian regulation. So who are you going to bring in? And they said you can use either you can use Azure or you can use this bank's local cloud. And we said, well, hang on a second. There are these folks at Google, and they seem to have a good cloud platform that we can build on. So for us, it was very much, we made a technological decision to go all in on using Google tech and Google products as opposed to what's just openly available. And that's how we've kind of re-architected our solution.
Yeah, I think I hear a lot about the ecosystem that GCP offers. That the partners that are on that ecosystem makes it a lot easier to transact too. So, all right. So the big question: where do you think the tech is going to go from here, and specifically in regulatory archiving and more of that compliance monitoring?
So I think the biggest concern that we see, and a lot of you, if you're sellers or buyers, think about is the people we're talking to have an existential threat when they're thinking about AI. I think that's not true. So anyone who's saying that AI is here to replace jobs, sure, you can think that, but the way we're trying to build it and what we're building with Google and our partnership is actually an amplification engine. So if you think about it, and given the topic is about front office, so let's say you're a portfolio manager. You have a specific amount of securities that you're covering. AI can help you expand your coverage because there's a lot of tasks that you can automate or a lot of tasks that you can simplify, be it simplification of equity research, so summarization of research reports, be it research over the internet of different 10Ks, 10Qs that you're looking into to make informed decisions about investments that you want to make. So right now, you're heavily reliant on your research analysts and their ability to go parse the internet and read PDFs. You're able to use AI to summarize that, but AI that's specific for financial services. So where the tech is going to go in terms of building it, well, I'm hoping it becomes cheaper. But what I'm confident about is it's going to be an amplification engine for people in financial services to do a lot more with the limited amount of resources they have in terms of human resources. So it's not about stacking the bench with thousands more people. It's about having intelligent compute and then making that data readily available to authorized people to make sense of it.
Yeah, I like the move folks up the stack. So take them from that level 1 investigator, make them a level 2, or make them level 3, right? And so I think that has broad appeal too, right? So it's a good career path kind of opportunity.
So if I just jump in there, one of the things that you learn is instead of just providing the enterprise solution, what we rolled out, and we spoke about this, Jeremy, is we rolled out our own, because it's older rage, we rolled out our own chatbot, right? So why did we roll it out? Because you're sitting on top of your own large language model, you're making it available for these enterprise use cases, but to the point of upskilling and up-leveling your existing employee base, arm them with something that allows for them to ask those questions of, my name is X, and I want to buy. I'm Canadian, and I want to buy X amount of, or I want to get X amount of exposure to Lululemon. Can I do it? Or my name is Y, and one of my customers is asking if I can transact in XYZ country. What is my internal policy to do it? So you can use things like RAG. You can use the large language model that we built. You can fine-tune it with your own policies and your own data within your own Google infrastructure. So you're not having to ship it out onto the internet or donate it to people who are named Sam or anything else. And you can actually then build something where you can mine that data for information that's useful to you.
Got it. Thanks. Okay, Nabil, Behavox, critical ISV partner of ours, obviously. What was it that you liked about your experience using GCP? For example, was there anything that made the transaction easier for you?
What a setup, right? But it's I actually think I'm going to take this as an opportunity to name drop. If you look to my right and your left, there's a gentleman, Ilke. If you raise your hand, so Ilke is our partner, and then so Ilke's been instrumental in actually getting us connected to the right people, be it also the right third-party organizations to list on Marketplace. So Behavox is listed. All of our products that are mature right now on Marketplace. So that's our regulatory product. That's our archiving product. The chatbot that I just mentioned is imminent to be listed on Marketplace. Ilke has made sure that when I go to sleep, I don't dream about revenue. I dream about Marketplace. So it's very much more than the kind of the promise of the Marketplace. It's the people who are aligned with the culture of us as a vendor that's been powerful for us to make a commitment onto Google and Marketplace.
I'm glad to hear that, and it's a big team too. You got Ilke, you got Ruben. It's a lot of people come together, I think, to support the partner in their journey. So I'm really glad to hear that. Okay, so now let's pivot a little bit to the customers. So you're migrating legacy customers onto the new platform. Um, why don't you share a little bit about advantages you're seeing for them from a total cost ownership perspective of using GCP?
So over here, I'll use this to name drop a couple of our customers who are publicly referenceable. So we had a conversation with a commodity trader, Vitol. So if you Google Vitol, they're one of the largest revenue generators in the world, period, on an annualized basis, and huge exposures to the commodity landscape. So Vitol does an evaluation of Behavox, and when we're talking to some of their individuals, they say, look, we are married to a different cloud provider. But because of our security posture with Google, because of the quality of the infrastructure, and more importantly, the cost of storage being affordable, they said, well, it's a no-brainer. If we want to protect our organization at an affordable rate, we have to go with Behavox on GCP. So that was one. You then also have another organization, so Bank of New York Mellon. So that's 13,000 employees, millions of communications that they're using to satisfy their regulatory obligations. So Bank of New York Mellon makes a decision to use Behavox. They put out a press release, fanfare. We go through months of an architecture review board. It's a bank, and it's a GCP. So we're going through months of an architecture review board, and on a weekly basis or monthly basis, we're having conversations with our Google partners on, here's some information we need, response, excellent, we get the thing through the door. So those are two examples. And then a third example is one of our customers, Anglo-American, another commodity shop, big commodity shop, publicly listed. They have been a customer of ours since 2017, a SaaS customer on a different cloud provider. Now, they want to leverage the intelligent archive. They want to use the chatbots. They want to amplify their business. So for them, it was a no-brainer, which is, we trust your partnership with Google. We trust you. So we're ready to start making that move to get those gains for the business and get the savings in cloud, which I'm hoping they reinvest into us on the license side.
On the AI side of it, did you find that in terms of training your models, in terms of tuning the models, how do you start to think about that, as a partner? How does the platform impact those types of decisions? Obviously, you've said we tried some other clouds. Google also offers some of this, all of it end to end, obviously. But I think. Are you interested in the infrastructure? Is it the platform? Is it all of it end to end? What's sort of that broad appeal for you?
So for us, the journey started with the infrastructure, right? It was getting our customers onto the right infrastructure that could scale. So when we started the conversation with Google, we were looking at employee counts of about 4, 5, 6,000. Now we're looking at employee counts of 60, 70,000, where you need to have the right infrastructure that can support 20 million messages a day. Right, and you're literally talking about petabytes of data that needs to be stored and accumulates on a 10 to 20%, grows on a 10 to 20% horizon on an annualized basis. So infrastructure was the most important thing. Scalability and security of that infrastructure is very important. Then you start thinking about, how can I run the human in the loop or the slightly more automated feedback loops to actually uptrain and fine tune some of these models. That then becomes the extension of how do we look at the whole platform. And then what we ultimately tie that together for me from a go-to-market standpoint is, how do I make it easier for my customers to transact? And how do I make it easier for me to not have to talk to lawyers? And it turns out Marketplace is a great way to do that. So it's the infrastructure, it's the platform, and then it's how do they actually consume the Behavox product set.
They make you talk to the attorneys, right?
That's my purgatory.
Yeah, I figured. Well, Nabil, thanks. I appreciate that candid conversation with you.